Okay, thank you.
I can start, and then.
Yeah, I can say Melody can go ahead and
Yeah,
start.
I will text them that we're.
In
Can you text Jeremy?
session at 3:41 with all previous board members present. We have Melody.
And Anjani's on as well?
Yeah, she said
Yes,
she
on
was.
Okay,
camera, both.
excellent.
Is Pam on?
Is Pam on?
Yeah.
Is Pam on? Okay, everybody's got. I can tell. Can you tell?
Yes, everybody's present.
Okay.
She's showing she's on.
Okay, all right, Jeremy's back too.
I'm back. Sorry, I got locked out.
All right, everybody's here, excellent. So, this plan is actually developed in conjunction with Susan based on her recommendation. So her recommendation is that to improve retention and, address the compression issue is to give classified employees a permanent percentage increase. Cause if you only do it for this year and then next year, you're gonna have the same compression and retention issues. So it is a permanent increase. And if you look at, so this plan have two parts. Part one adjusts for classified employees. Classified employees are just, anybody, like Jeremy is a classified employee.
It's everyone but Melody and
And Logan.
Logan.
Yeah.
It's everyone
Everybody in
else.
the district that's full-time, permanent, eligible, there are a total of 58
And
of
Craig,
us.
right?
And Craig? No.
Craig
Logan,
is
you want to be
classified.
unclassified.
There's only two, Logan and
It's only
myself.
Logan.
So,
Position once classified at one time. Cheryl Becker is the one that requested it become non-classified. I do not know if Logan was given the option of being classified or non-classified, but I think that needs to be taken into consideration between him and Melody.
so when we replaced Cheryl, we just used the same position, so I didn't even
Yeah.
make any decision on that one, I just
Rennie made that
replacement.
Rennie made that change.
Yeah, Randy made that choice, so I'm just living with whatever he decided, which I think it works out just fine.
Yeah. If
So,
that's what Logan wants to do.
and, so classified employees is everybody except Logan and myself. There are a total of, including Logan and myself, total of 58.
Is it 56, or on part one it says 56?
So there's 56 that qualify.
Classified, and then two.
There's
You
56
have to
that
have
qualify.
at least achieved, you have to have
There's
at least
two
achieved.
positions currently have an
Yeah, they're not achieved, so they don't qualify for the
Thank you.
increase.
so that's under their current review. So they could have a revised review and then they might qualify,
They
but
might
currently there's
qualify.
56 people that qualify for this.
For the, yeah,
For
for
the-
this permanent raise.
Yeah.
So that's part one of the plan. So the
Could we
philosophy.
get that information on the screen, please, for those online and the public?
13-1.
13.
13-1. So the whole idea is that, we are, we're following Idaho Code 67-5301009A, that the total compensation for state employees shall be fund a competitive employee compensation and benefit package that will attract qualified applicants to the workforce, retain employee who are committed to public service excellence, motivate employees to maintain high standards of productivity, and reward employees for outstanding performance. So that's our guiding principle and philosophy. And then there's some details about how, because the pay freeze for fiscal 2021, our compa ratio is essentially what your pay is relative to the market. Of course, higher the better, right? Our compa ratio has actually decreased, because this pay freeze the governor put in place. And also, our compa ratio compared to the statewide compa ratio is a couple percentages lower. So it's just kind of give you the idea, background information on why we're less competitive than we should be. So the proposed solution is to have two parts. Part one is for classified employees, and the proposed percentage is on the second page, depends on years of service. Because the compression issue comes very acute with, like, the longer you're here, that's more of a problem. So that's why, 1 to 2 years, only 2%, 3 to 10 years, 3%, and then 10 years plus, it's 3.5%. That's why there's the variance in percentage. So.
And we did those flat, but now listening to Susan, she wants those to be even different from what we presented. She wants them to, between achieves, she wants the percent to go up. If you're only at achieves, you get X, and if you're a solid.
The percent to go down, achieves less, but
Yeah,
exemplary.
achieves is less, and then
higher.
it goes up to exemplary,
Right.
so.
Like,
We have it flat across
Yeah.
the top.
So she's talking,
she's talking possibly like your 3.5 for solid, but maybe achieve you only a 3, but if you're exemplary, you could
Maybe
be
it's a 4.
That's what she's talking about, so there's,
You know, more like a CC.
there's so
Yeah,
that
more like
it's,
when you do a
employees are rewarded for outstanding performance.
So you'd be rewarded both on your performance and on your years of service.
Yeah,
Instead of
that's
just,
what
right
she's
now, it's,
saying.
right now you're being rewarded only on your years of service.
Yeah, so that's a minor tweak, right?
Yes, and it probably won't shift, like we're saying the average is 2.92%.
Yeah.
It'll probably still
Roughly.
probably still
Yeah.
be around 3%, which
Yeah.
is what we funded in our budget for the
Yeah.
CEC this year anyway, so we
Yeah.
have a 3%.
Yeah.
We included that 3% in the original budget. So we set aside dollars to do a CEC in the first place, which we've saved half of because we didn't give it for the first half of the year.
Okay, so that's part 1. Any question on part 1 for classified employees? So it's for retention and compression adjustment.
And the numbers here under distribution costs, Melanie?
Yes, so that is the cost, direct cost, salary, indirect, fringes, benefits and medical and, indirect.
But
So-
that's using this current
Yes,
schematic. you
using
have.
this
Yes.
schematic.
Correct.
So if we have to shift the percentage slightly, you're going to see a little bit of shift, but not significant. We've done this so many times with.
So what we're
CECs.
saying here then is that the 56 employees on the front page.
Yeah.
This is the price tag for the 56 employees.
Yeah.
For 2, 3, or 2 or 3 or.
Right,
3.5.
$45,000.
$45,000. Now, that also includes, I'm trying to think, does that?
That's
include
not
the-
including
The part 2? Yeah.
your 2, no,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
just that piece.
Okay, so it's just that piece for the classified. So for the non-classified
So there would-
employee, I'm sorry, did
So there
you?
would be no increase for anyone that's not working full-time? How does that affect our retention?
It applies to everyone that's over half-time. So if you're over 50, if you work more than 20 hours a week, it applies to you. The only people it wouldn't apply to is people that have been here less than a year, which most of those people we're not rewarding them because they've been here less than a year, so they're on the highest, their pay scale. And people that are not achieves on their
Yeah,
reviews. So people that are on a performance improvement plan.
right, because it has to be
Thank you.
merit-based. Per Susan's recommendation for the non-exempt employees, so those are, Logan and myself. The state policy, we're following is the statewide policy that was included in your packet, that's, 13.0. So that you could give, up to $2,000 for employees' exemplary performance, during one fiscal year, up to $2,000 per fiscal year. And, you can also give retention bonus up to $5,000 per fiscal year. So those are the 2 options. And, the reason, I'm recommending the 2,000 here for Logan is because I know that he has lost many vacation hours that we're not able to compensate. There is no compensation for lost vacation, and because of COVID, he's been working day and nights and weekends and all that. So So, the only way we can really compensate him is through this bonus mechanism. Now, the bonus, of course, will not address any, compression or anything issue like that, but, the general concept is that, non-exempt employees in general are paid higher than classified employees. That's why it's the bonus, so it doesn't affect the base of the, non-classified employees. So it's just kind of a one-time deal, you don't have to pay that year after year.
This 2,000.
Yeah, 2,000 is
That
the
was gonna be my
one-time,
next question.
yeah, it's a one-time deal, it's not on top of their base pay. Whereas classified employee, they get that 3% that stays with them for the rest of their career here. So that's the difference, but in general, the classified employees are a little bit lower paid than non-classified employee, and that's the state philosophy, and it's explained in this, statewide policy that's in your
Okay.
packet.
Would this begin in July,
Okay.
2021 fiscal year?
My recommendation will be to do it within fiscal 2021. And because, you know, the amount of, CFAC reimbursement and our $2.1 million carryover, we have that cash right now, that it will be best to use that money so that come times to do budget requests from the counties, you know, we have, that's something that if, you know, you guys are county commissioners, what would be your reaction if somebody come to you to ask for a request increase or whatever, and then you see a, carryover balance of $2 million, what would be your reaction?
It would depend on the request, and that's why it's important that we understand what's happening, because I don't know what's gonna come out of this legislative session.
Correct.
I think that there's gonna be a lot of discussion, and Bob said earlier that there may not be anything, I doubt that. I think we're gonna see something.
Right.
I just don't know what it is, because there hasn't been really any discussion laid out there
Right.
of how the
Right.
health districts, I know that the shortage of Medicaid expansion is gonna be a big issue. So
Right.
there's gonna be some debate on what the counties are gonna pay for.
Right,
So
right.
We'll just have to see what
Yeah.
happens with that.
Yeah.
We spent a good portion of the morning on that this morning.
What do you mean, several $1 million over available? These dollars are budgeted, and so are you talking about the slush fund? taking
I'm
that?
talking about I'm talking about the bottom line on page 11.
So essentially, we did budget for our
11.4.
CEC, so we do have in our budget 3% for a raise, like we had budgeted for a raise before the governor before he froze it, right? So that money in our budget is there, and there's nothing in the current situation that says that we won't have the money to cover that CEC bonus raise with our
Well,
current
I just
situation.
don't understand what you're saying, comparing it to county commissioners. If we have a couple of $1 million in there, how would we feel about it? Which $1 million? are
Oh,
we
so
talking?
on page 11.4, if you look at the very bottom of our current balance, that's our money in our checking, well, not, yeah.
It's
that's
our money in
we
excess
have
of what's
on
been set
hand,
aside
set
by the
aside.
board.
11.4,
You're going the wrong way, Roy. Back
you go back.
to the
You go
financial
wrong way.
budget.
Well,
11.4.
11.4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I turned too many on 110, there we go.
Okay, very bottom.
Okay.
So current, as of now, we have $2.167 million. And this was this number last year was 1.6. So we have added $500,000 to this account since last year. That's our carryover. That's the assets from our operations.
Right, and the board could designate that 2.1 million for whatever purpose the board wants to designate it
Yeah, well,
for.
that's
But at the
what I-
moment, hasn't been, that's undesignated funds, it hasn't been set aside for any purpose.
Okay.
So it's,
It's not out of salary, that's
yeah, it's,
the
Yeah.
whole budget.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is a portion of that, 44,988, maybe we can use a portion, which is like 2% of that to help with the employee retention recognition. And also, last year, we had salary savings of $169,201 from fiscal 2020. So that's on the very last page of this plan, which is 13.1. So that salary savings could be used to fund. So that salary savings is actually part of the 2.1 million that's in that fund. So. the
How many
very-
employees did we have last year versus how many we have this year?
Oh, great question. We had 70 some?
At the highest, I think, if I remember correctly, we had 72 employees. As of this morning, we have 119.
But a lot of it's part-time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That's
we're
not-
talking
that's-
employees.
that's
Uh-huh.
people,
We're
not,
talking
that's
people.
people, not FTEs.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not FTEs. Yeah, those 100, it's only 58 of them are actually gonna be part of this.
Yeah, they're
deal.
qualified.
Yeah, the 100 some is just part-time and the search we're having with contact tracing and investigation. So, that's what I'm saying is that that salary saving, which is in that 2.1 million, could easily cover the essentially $45,000 that we're, requesting here. And of course, that's, up to Bob and Roy and Brent, upon further review. And so, as far as financial coverage, I think we're solid, we're more than solid. And another thing I wanna I'm sorry, did you want to
Okay,
say
on
something?
your status of your employees and such, you're in process of filling all those vacancies, so we will not have any empty vacancies. So what salary savings will we have for the remaining of this financial year
So,
if we fill those?
well, but we've had those positions empty for a number of months. We budget the positions like for the whole year. And then if those positions stay vacant for 4, 5, 6 months,
Yeah, that's.
we have a salary savings because we didn't spend the salary on those employees.
Yeah.
And this in a normal year, so if you look at 13.2, we have our history of salary savings, we just pulled like a 10-year history. Because in any given year, we have employees that rotate in and out, so a CSR will quit, it takes us 2 months to replace them, we have salary savings for that 2 months. We have a nurse that quits, it takes us 4 months to replace them, we have a salary savings. So you can see on that we've had a low of where we only had $17,000 in salary savings, where we had a year that was super close. And we've had a high of $400,000, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But on average, we average around 195,000, so we're talking 195,000 of people rotating in and out during a year.
Usually about 4 to 6 positions.
4 to 6
Thank you for
positions.
pointing that out, because that proves sustainability.
Yeah,
That was my
yeah,
point.
right, if we average 200,000 in salary savings every year, paying for a 3% raise that costs us $77,000 for the year, it's pretty easy to cover if we're saving that in the budget every year. Sure,
You know
Roy.
what my people in the county would say if, we wanted to go over that and we were, had a person that wasn't, the position that wasn't filled for 6 months?
You'd adjust it.
Yeah, they say, if you can get along with them without, for 6 months, why can't you?
You
get
probably
along
don't
with
need
them?
it, huh?
Yeah. that-
Well, we do ask that question, and we do eliminate people, but what happens is usually we do a budget revision, we usually do that in like October after all of the contracts are in. This year, we haven't done it yet because of COVID, it's been pushed off. So a lot of times we'll do it in October, and then the salary savings are from whatever happens after that point. So if we have a staff position that was empty in October, I may say, well, we're only gonna fund that position for 10 months of the year, because we've already had part of the year where we didn't need that person. And so I'll cut that out of the budget. But a lot of times we still have salary savings after that point.
Yeah.
This year, depending on that, when I do the budget revision, we could look at the budget and go, well, that person wasn't here for 6 months, I'm gonna eliminate part of that salary savings and cut the budget, try to cut the budget down. But on average, we still end up with 195,000 in salary savings, so there probably will still be some rotation of staff even after I do that
Yeah.
budget revision. That we'll still have some salary savings at the end of the fiscal year, whether that's attrition, retirement, or other, we'll still have a salary savings.
Yeah.
That was unaccounted for in the budget.
So, and then, something point B, I think that was it. Oh, 13.2B, I asked Jeremy to pull a history on our turnover rate. And the first page of that shows the total, separation, the column with the blue numbers. So a historic, showing of typically how many people leave the agency. That's total, voluntary and involuntary, and then the second page shows the voluntary. So in any given year, you're looking at, cause our, 3 to up to 11 people could be turning over. So turnover is something that, while we don't like to see happening, it does happen no matter what. People life change for whatever reason, they move on. So, so that means we will always have salary savings. I guess that's the plan.
Could you explain the requirement that, or the ability to leave those positions open for like 2 years before we eliminate them, in case you need them back?
So
How
there's,
does that fall into play?
so that's with DHR, so we can leave that position open with DHR. If we choose to leave it open with DHR for 2 years, we're supposed to fund that position because we could hire it. So we're supposed to fund it. So usually at the end of the year, I give a list to Yvonne and I talk to Melody and we decide which positions we're eliminating and we usually turn those off. But we can reopen it, even if we have disabled a position, we still can re-enable that up to 2 years.
But we don't fund it.
But we don't fund it if it's disabled. So,
Thank you.
so we
That's
don't.
part of the personnel savings too, is if we budget
Yeah.
for it and.
Correct, if we leave those, if we leave it open, if we leave it open at the state, we're required to fund it. So, we have to show that we can pay for it if we leave it open. If we disable it and turn it off, then we don't have to fund it. So, typically why we've always budgeted, that's why we budget a position for a whole year, because once we put them in the budget, they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause if you hired them, that'd be out of budget.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right, so if we turn out and decide to hire them, then we're in trouble if we
Yeah.
took them out.
Okay, and then lastly, on page 13.3, just a quick survey around the district as far as county-wise. You guys probably know these numbers better than I do, that's just kind of my quick survey. Talking to representatives, looks like Blaine County did a $500 bonus for fiscal 2021. This is all fiscal 2021. Camas, I don't know anything about Camas, so I can't speak to that. So Kaiser, my understanding is that, Bob, you guys did a 1% this year, but you're thinking about a 4% next year
Well,
possibly?
it'll depend on what happens in the legislature.
That's true. Yeah, with
If
property
they
tax.
change things,
Yeah,
it'll be entirely different.
Yeah.
We are receiving more state revenues now than what was anticipated.
Oh, well, that's always good. So, and then Gooding gave a 2%, Jerome did a 3%, Lincoln 3%, Minidoka 3% plus the $300 bonus. And I don't know if Twin Falls 2% as well. Okay, so it looks like most of you guys did some sort of increase, for your
Melody, I would
employees.
just add for Blaine County, you're correct, we did do the bonuses, and that's what I reported to you, but we also, one way we address, compression is that we do step increases based on the amount of time. So those increases did occur this year, so if you've been working 2, 4, 8 years, you did still get your increase, but there wasn't, we didn't do a cost of living or a merit increase.
Oh,
I just wanted to make that, clarification. We address compression in just a different way.
Oh, okay, well, that's good
And
to
we
know.
did that this year.
Do you know what
And for
percent?
Jerome,
Uh-huh,
they did 3% with no merit increase for certificates, promotions, or training. So they didn't recognize the additional, it was just a 3%, and that begins their fiscal year of September.
okay. Training or certificates. Okay, that's good to know. So as you can see, our counties, looks like they all did something for their employees. And, you know, in a year where we have a global pandemic, my public health staff just working their fingers to the bone, and, I think it will mean a huge, so much for them to be recognized by the board, to have, you know, some sort of increase. Not to mention that will make my job a lot easier because the compression issue and the retention issue. So that's the reason that, I'm here to ask the board. You don't have to make this decision today, think about it. You know, talk amongst yourself and let me know what you feel is prudent thing to do before.
I mean, Suzanne Buxton is not still on the phone, is she?
No,
No,
she
she has another
had to
meeting.
go. She's like doing 8 different things at
So,
any given
so
time.
did you, if I could ask a question then,
Mhm.
on this, schematic
Yes,
that you put together,
uh-huh,
of the achieved performance, solid, sustained, exemplary,
yeah.
she recommended something different than that. Have you drafted anything up yet and run any numbers on?
She said she was gonna talk to me after this meeting to give me feedback on what they're, cause I asked for feedback. And of course, she is not the person doing it, she has a bureau chief that does this. So she's probably gonna get that information from the bureau chief to let me know, but what she's implying is that instead of, let's say, achieve, solid, sustain, and exemplary across the board 3%, you would say solid sustains 3%, but achieves 2.5, and exemplary is 3.5. You know what I mean? There is a gradient for the, performance, so that you're actually rewarding employees who are performing at a higher level with a slightly higher
Well,
percentage.
you're acknowledging the years of service too.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah.
What usually happens when you do that though is the percentage comes out, like our average is 2.92. When you shift one down and one up, you're gonna end
It's
up
about a wash.
close to the same.
Yeah,
It'll probably average out to be around 3 still
yeah,
in the end, depending on what her recommendations are, but
yeah.
my guess is it still washes out to around 3% total.
You have interviews with every employee then?
Oh, yeah,
Every year.
we have to have a current evaluation of
Do it,
every
is
employee
that
to be
a
qualified.
requirement?
Yes,
Because ICRIM in the counties is, some say no, we have.
We've been discouraged from doing evaluation.
really?
Um,
Oh, man,
so-
that would save me so many hours. I spend weekends doing evaluations. Logan does too.
Well, that's just, I
Well,
was
you
just
wanna
telling you
make
what
a
we're
motion
under.
for that?
So actually, Roy, if I put an evaluation in and or if I put a raise in or any type of increase that is money and there's not a current evaluation, IPOPS will give me an alert and I can't go any further. So,
Yeah, I
that's how we
see every.
know. We don't get it without a current evaluation.
Based on Ms. Buxton's recommendation and increases and stuff, I would like to see what those increases would be and have our financial committee come back with firm numbers so we can do what's best for our staff. Because she's in looking at some additional options that we may have to reward and retain our staff. What is the feeling of the rest of the board? It's 4 o'clock and we still have a lot of items to cover. And I don't think we can really come to any definite conclusion until we see what Ms. Buxton's recommendations are.
Well, I think one of the things we need to take into consideration too is how this is gonna affect 2022.
Right.
On the horizon, what does that mean? And it would be nice to get her recommendations, Susan's recommendations on what she sees here.
So the
And acknowledging the years of service. Correct.
Yeah, so 2022 compensation plan is here already, so it is on the DHR website. And they're again recommending a pay chart shift, so if we don't do this compression adjustment, we could be even more trouble. And then also the 2022.
That's not what I'm saying.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
I guess what I'm concerned about is the dollar amount. We don't know what's gonna happen this session.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we just need to be, I think we need to be mindful of what that might be.
Mhm.
There's no question they're gonna be recommending that for state
Yeah.
employees, they do that all
Yeah.
continuously. And there's no question we got a compaction issue,
Mhm.
a compression, not compaction.
Well, if we
Excuse me.
don't
We know
address the
you're-
compression, maybe compaction.
We get a lot of
issue down
snow
the road.
in
Yeah. But I mean, we need to address that, there's no question about
Yeah.
that. I'm just curious what that's gonna look like in future years, making this adjustment, and how we're gonna have to factor that in. The opportunity from what Suzanne is saying, and the governor is recommending, is to do this because of the freeze. And the thaw that's now occurred gives us funds that we set aside, that we might be able to utilize this to move us forward, that's a great idea. I just wanna make sure we understand all the intended and unintended consequences of this all in.
I see, yeah.
I would say that there's no difference between doing this and the CEC, like, if we had done a CEC at the beginning of the year for 3%, this would be the same effect for next fiscal year. You're gonna have the same effect the 3% CEC would have done. It's not gonna have any change. We're gonna be in the same financial position at the end of the year that we would have been in if we had given a CEC this year. The
Commissioner
only-
Ranke, you're saying that we need to kind of wait and see what the legislature is going to do
No.
for funding of the public health, am I understanding you correctly?
No, Madam Chairman, I'm not. I think the opportunity is here, whether it's today or next month, that we try to address the compression issue and acknowledge the years of service. That shift needs to take place because of what's happening with our new hires and what's happening with those that have more than the 2 year, beginning of 3 years, is what the graphs are saying here. I just think it'd be nice to have the graph that reflects what Suzanne is suggesting
Yeah,
from that standpoint and understand the whole picture and then pull the trigger at the right time, whether it's today or if it's in the January meeting.
yeah.
But I wouldn't wait for another year.
Yeah, absolutely. The only reason I don't have what she has in mind is I've been asking for feedback and she's juggling
Sure.
8 different things and her bureau chief is working on it. So I think sound like they have some ideas already. It wouldn't take Jeremy more than 5 minutes to plug in those numbers and spit out a total cost. But what he's saying is that the total cost is gonna be probably plus minus 5% of
Of
what
that
this.
$45,000.
Yeah,
I would say it's gonna be very close to that,
Very
like if we,
close.
like, if her suggestion is we just move 0.5% for achieves and plus 0.5% on exemplary, it's gonna
It's a
move the
lot.
scale very little, you're gonna end up still around the 45, the total amount of cost is gonna be about the same. You're just gonna shift the employees that get it, you're gonna give slightly less to the achieves employees, you're gonna give slightly more to the exemplary employees, and the amount total stays around the same amount. Unless you have some wild idea that I misunderstood.
That's not
where-
what we heard. It
That's
was
not what I
just-
heard
yeah.
on the conversation. It shouldn't be that much different.
Yeah, cause in a
What is
normal,
the,
go ahead,
what is the
Linda.
pleasure of the board concerning this action item?
This is Anjani, Linda.
Yes.
You know, as I said, I'm happy to take action today, but if the board feels more comfortable waiting till next month, I think that could be fine. I just really don't wanna see us go past January. I wanna make sure that it's really happening in this fiscal year. And I spoke already to the retention issues, I think a number of us did, but also, clearly, having some kind of, recognition and merit right now is absolutely critical with how stretched our staff is and the lack of vacation they're getting and the strain of the pandemic. So I wouldn't wanna see us go past, next month. And I think Brent makes, if I understood Brent's, point correctly, I think it's important to think about how these increases will have an impact over time. But I think since we're in such a healthy position right now with our budget, I don't see any, concern with making these changes this year having a negative impact in our upcoming, fiscal years, even if there is a change, with the legislature, though I certainly hope there isn't.
Thank you. Yes, I think we need to address the compression thing as a definite, in the January meeting at the latest for these types of things, so. Does someone want to make a motion to some effect so we can move on?
This is Bob, I make a motion that we, table this till January meeting with action that day, unless there's a real change in what Susan's program says. I think that would be the best course.
Is there a second to Bob's motion?
This is Pam, I'll second that.
Okay, it has been moved by Bob and seconded that we table this action item until the January meeting at the latest, and we'll get the information from Ms. Buxton, such we may come up with more of it. Any discussion on the motion? Yvonne, would you read the motion back, please?
Yes, Commissioner Bob Kuna moved to table the DHR recommendation for FY 2020 and FY 2021 to the January meeting with action taken that day, and it was seconded by Pam Jones.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Please put it on the January meeting. Quick question to the board. If we get the information before the January meeting, would you be receptive to having a special meeting for just this discussion item?
I would, yes.
I would also.
I would also.
That would be fine with me.
Great, because then that way we can get it taken care of just as soon as possible.
Right.
So as soon as we get the information, Melody and Jeremy and I and Bob and Grant, if you would kind of work with the finance committee to come with a definite recommendation to the board in conjunction and such, that would be great.
Madam Chairman, we will schedule a date to sit down with Melody and Jeremy before we leave today.
Okay.
Great, that would,
Sounds great.
that would be super, and that way we get Ms. Buxton, and maybe it could be a shorter meeting. Okay, Yvonne, have we received any email confirmations on, Commissioner Coyle's nomination since the meeting began?
No, I checked during the break and I have not received anything yet, Linda.
Okay, thank you. We will need to table that. Is there a motion to still do item A under action items? I'd entertain a motion.
Hey.
To ratify
Ratify.
I'll make a motion that we table the action item A to ratify Commissioner Cheryl Coyle's appointment to the Board of Health till all the counties have been heard from.
This is Brand, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Helen and seconded by Grant that we table action item number A. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Okay, the next item, the approval of employee appreciation gift. EJ,
I can do that. So I tasked EJ to do some research on what we can give, to the employee equivalent to about $50 per person. So it's this single page,
item number 12.
a loose page.
It was the one that was loose, that's
It was a
the,
loose page, 12.0.
it was sitting right next to your packets. Yeah, it was sitting right next to the packets.
Look underneath
This is
your-
not yet?
No, it's this.
Okay, under consideration is.
The back page of that one's correct. so you
The
don't
only
care.
question I
The back
have
page of the one you
is,
just picked up.
has local businesses been contacted, so we're not paying shipping and our tax dollars from our 8 counties is remaining our district? And also remember, if we get ham or gourmet popcorn, it's taxed.
It's not, Linda. It's in the federal FAQ, it actually says specifically that if you give them a ham with no cash equivalent, that's fine. It's a gift. A nominal gift is fine.
Okay,
Gift
Bob,
cards, on the
how
other
did
hand,
you-
are not fine.
Oh, really?
If you give them the ham, you're okay.
If you give them a
can't give
ham,
them a
you're-
certificate for a ham.
If you give them a certificate for a ham, you're probably not okay, cause that's a,
Yes, our assistant auditor called
yep.
the IRS.
If you give them an actual ham, you're fine, cause that's a nominal gift. And it's actually one of the examples in the federal guide, in the IRS guideline is giving a holiday ham.
So
That is
somebody has to go pick them up, bring them
Yeah,
down, pass
Yes.
them
they
out.
want you to handle it first.
specifically mentioned, but any nominal gift that has a nominal cash value is fine. Holiday hams especially were mentioned in the fact, so just the FYI.
Say that again about the certificate.
If I give you a certificate for a
Well, the
ham,
ham
that
is-
has a cash value, that is taxed. That would be taxed as like a gift card or a gift certificate.
We're in violation, not.
But if I give you a ham, you're fine. Yep.
Okay, like I say, have any of these been priced locally?
Yes, so we tried to price the ham locally, and EJ contacted independent meats. They said they might have something on the December 23rd, which is kind of close. We didn't wanna have to juggle like 119 ham on December 23rd.
Oh, come on.
They cost 119.
So, but Costco, we can at least reserve in advance, and then I talked to Eric, and he's willing to work with his, maintenance guy to juggle all the hams for us. And he has a big walk-in cooler, so at least that's doable. And also, 119 employees, that's including all the board members, so just the FYI. As far as the fleece, because the numbers of fleece blanket we have to get, we couldn't find anybody local that can provide that kind of quantity, and also they will come embroidered with, so that makes it really, handy, cause like we looked into Costco to buy some fleece things, but they have a limit, like you can only buy 10 at a time. So it's like, Lori, you gotta make 12 trips or whatever to, and then think about what we're gonna do with all those blankets in our office, and then we have to take it somewhere to get embroidered. It's just become kind of a logistical nightmare.
Maybe you'll just have to do that for the board members.
Each board member's responsible for buying 10, right? During the early
There
morning
you go,
hours.
make
Yeah.
your trips to Costco.
We're getting tired, cause we're getting
Yeah.
silly.
So,
Yeah, and
yeah, we thought
a
about
side
that.
note, Governor Evans has declared December as, Healthcare Workers Month also.
Yeah.
So
that's
this
really
could be
nice.
in honor of that, you know, from the board, and then when we have the spring training, maybe we could do something else for them.
Yeah.
Where we're working on the possible retention raises or bonuses or whatever has come up. I would be in favor of purchasing the hams.
Okay. So, yeah,
Any other comments from the board?
so those are three options. You can do one of them, two of them, none of them, or all of them, so.
Just FYI, the blankets are out of stock till mid-February.
We acted too
That
fast.
made that really easy. Maybe we can talk to the local business into getting some for us by then.
So, yeah, it's been kind of a struggle trying to find.
But yeah, it is, and the staff needs something appreciation, and I think that they're gonna understand too, that we're trying to work some monetary,
Yeah,
to
I think if they get the retention pay, they will be more than happy to even forego the gifts.
Well, let's call it a retention ham, there we go.
Oh, thank God.
I said, we're
Mike,
getting-
tell me what's your opinion?
I'd like to do, a gift, I think that that's nice, if the blankets aren't in stock even until February, it doesn't really seem like that's, a good option, and so I guess I would probably go with the hams, so, you know, it's, not all families eat hams, it's something we talked about at Wayne County, so, you know, that's always, but, you know, we're doing the best we can for the employees, and hopefully maybe they can gift it to somebody else if they're not, able to use the ham themselves.
You can always donate it to your local food bank.
Thanks, yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly, so.
okay.
Camas County?
Oh, I like the hams, and I really like that optional item, the keychain. I like the proud of all we did. I just would like our people to know that we're proud of them and all that they've done. I think that would be it's not an expensive addition.
Ham, I agree, that is really nice.
Mm-hmm. So you, ham and keychain, Anjani?
Yes.
Okay, Bob, Cache County?
Well, the ham definitely, like, you mean the option to the keychains, is that what you're saying?
Keychain or lapel pin, same message.
Are those available, or are those February?
Are these available today?
I don't think you can get them here.
You won't get here in time.
You aren't gonna get
You
them.
will get here
by
before
Christmas.
Christmas.
I don't know if they're in stock.
Oh, okay.
Well,
But we will get it
They're coming out of
eventually.
California there.
So,
Yeah. That's true, the lockdown.
California's in lockdown.
So we know we won't get these before Christmas. Melody, in our last all-staff meeting, the virtual one that we
We
did with
already-
everybody, she did announce to them that we were working on this, and that what probably wouldn't be until January, so the staff is aware
okay.
that they're
But
not
the
gonna get
hand
them
can be
before
Christmas.
Christmas.
The hand
so-
can be for
Yeah,
Christmas,
the hand
if
could
we
be-
get it added.
Yeah, yeah. So they understand that not everything's gonna be before Christmas.
Yeah, we
but
just
if
bought
we get
ourselves
the
some
hand-
time.
Yeah,
Well,
We
and that's
figure we're
good,
covered.
because you're not
Yeah.
gonna get.
Right.
yeah,
Freight companies are busy moving
Yeah.
vaccine,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm
Now
not
that
sorry.
with the pandemic,
They are.
yes. the
Yeah,
inventory.
the shipping is the cost to the keychain. For 100 of them. Shipping is as much as the keychain.
Well, you gotta think about blankets, you know,
Well,
bunch
it
of
says
boxes.
plus the shipping.
Plus shipping, plus shipping.
No, she's
I
saying
don't know
it
how
costs,
much it
it
is.
costs as much as the blankets to ship.
That's true, the shipping of the blanket costs as much as the keychain.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Gooding County?
I would go with the keychain, which may be given out late, and obviously the ham. Thank you.
Roy, Lincoln County?
Ham and keychain. Thanks for